Hi everyone, Spook the Knee Ghost Tano here, the internet's busiest music nerd, and it's time for a review of the new spelling album, Mazy Fly. This is the first full-length album on Sacred Bones Records from singer, songwriter, producer Christy Cabral, aka Spelling with 3 L's. And after listening to this LP, I am pretty impressed with how snugly she fits into the dark, atmospheric, and kind of eerie aesthetic of that label, but also stands out as one of their most exciting musical prospects at the moment. Her sound and style are so eclectic, I'm going to have a hard time compartmentalizing it in a succinct way, because in my opinion, the sound is not too unlike the cover, as nearly everything that's presented on this album is delivered under a shroud of darkness and a bit of a soft focus. But it's also a woman in what looks like a wedding dress and a cowboy hat laying in the hay with some cows, and the cows are all like, "Hey, can I get that hay?" The instrumentation on this record is kind of rudimentary, sounds very synthetic, very analog synth, although I'm not sure if it's true analog synths or anything like that. There are tons of ways to mimic that sound these days. The general vibe of these tracks and the performances on them are very minimal, are very still, mostly to make way for Cabral's very witchy and beckoning voice, as well as the chilly atmosphere that surrounds nearly every track here. The opening intro cut on this thing sounds like eerie synthesizers soundtracking what could be like a religious chant. To my ears, it would perfectly set the tone for something like Becoming Possessed. And building off of this, Cabral doesn't come out on this record with like all guns blazing or anything like that. If this album is blazing anything, it's some ritualistic candles and sage, because this is a seance. The song Haunted Water features some very steady bass synths, pulsating along some very tight and sequenced beats. Feels like I'm slowly succumbing to the darkness or some kind of great spiritual power. Very strange, slightly goth, and a little hair-raising, despite me not having much hair. There's definitely some art pop going into this thing, some ethereal wave, a little bit of ambient pop and dream pop vibes too. The song Hard to Please is soaked in this really shimmery and sharp echo and delay, and also comes through with some of the loudest and boldest vocal harmonies on the entire record. The mix is also wet with all of these sour and kind of off-putting synth leads. It's one of the shortest tracks here, but somehow comes back later on the album with a reprise that sounds very much unlike the original song. It's kind of like it grabs a few ideas from this first track earlier on the record and then flips those into a kind of dark, funky R&B blend, which actually stands out as one of the catchiest moments on the entire record. And of course, in embracing a more R&B oriented sound, she does not forget those wavy, kind of dark, Halloween-ish synths. Then we have the song Golden Numbers, whose title references the numbers of dates of new moons in the calendar year, which also ties in with a pretty clear romantic theme as well. Song-wise, this track is more theatrical to my ears than it is tuneful, like we've suddenly transitioned into a pagan or goth high school musical number, which might sound a little silly or dismissive, but I enjoy the cut quite a bit, and I think it does add to this album's kind of amateurish but authentically weird charm, and adds to this running list of themes like planets and stars and the sun and even extraterrestrial beings, which we will talk about a little bit later. The first leg of this LP features a lot of shorter cuts on this album, maybe not as fulfilling or as built out as I would like them to be, but around the halfway point it does start delivering more fulfilling cuts. The song Under the Sun is easily one of the best tunes on the entire record in my opinion. Under the sun, whoa. The track features a lovely, sad chord progression, these intoxicating melodies. Meanwhile, the song Real Fun sounds like anything but real fun. First track on the entire album to feature some prominent guitars, and mostly sounds like a very dark and dank synth rock tune composed in a dungeon. The track also comes with a crushing climax of just distorted guitar and heavy synth bass and these John Carpenter style lead melodies. And I'm also kind of intrigued by the lyrics on this track, which seem to be about aliens coming to Earth because they think our music is cool, like they're digging on Billie Jean and Billie Holiday. Honestly, I hope the first thing aliens hear when they get here is this record. Meanwhile, the song Afterlife is very Kate Bushian with its lavish and somewhat primped and whimsical intro. Also, its kind of prog rock inspired midpoint seems almost like she's pulling directly from records like Never Forever or The Dreaming. Also, this track is one of many on this album that slowly transitions into completely unexpected territory as eventually Cabral finds herself singing against some very great sax lines. Now, there are a lot of songs on this record that I enjoy, and for the most part, I really get a lot out of the odd personality of this record too. However, this album is not without its flaws. Sometimes, to my ears, the vocals do come off a bit too campy, a bit overacted. The drums, strings, and vocals on the track Secret Thread don't come together all that tightly, or at least as tightly as I would like. Some of the drum fills, especially toward the start of Dirty Desert Dreams, a little rough. Overall, I think this thing is pretty good, but there are a handful of cuts on here that seem too enamored in their own mystical vibe to follow through with a full, complete, or coherent song, or even deliver an effective performance. Not really anything I thought was overtly terrible on this record, but still a good chunk of tracks that did leave me wanting more. I don't think this album is going to be for everybody, but if you are someone who loves their music to lean heavy on character and you're feeling a little odd and a little adventurous, I would give this a shot. I am feeling a decent 7 on this thing. Transition. Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit the like if you like. Please subscribe and please don't cry. Hit the bell as well. Over here next to my head is another video that you can check out. Hit that up or the link to subscribe to the channel. Spelling Mazy Fly forever.